for greatness, I promise perfection. Mama birthed the king, immaculate conception. I survived in the darkness and the shadows of death. And through all that I prospered, they formed every weapon. But I came so thorough, never changed my wardrobe. Took every scar with honor, I was raised in the burrow. Now I'm giving to me from the belly of the beast. I'm just paying respects, I'm just speaking my piece.
All right, welcome everybody to the Quality Time Podcast. This is another episode with your boy Quay. Today I have joining me in a different format. Like I said, I have Royal, Tolliver, and Monique, or Royal, Wendell, and Monique. I go by all first names here. And on this episode, we're going to shift a little from the normal type of episodes that I do. We're going to have a discussion, conversation with some dope people who have some very dope opinions and outlooks on life that I respect. It's going to be about some things that have been going on in the community over the, I want to say past few months, but some hot topics that have came up over the past few months and few weeks or so. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and hop into this conversation. So I am going to do this part because I always do this part. I always like to ask everybody that appears up here, who are you? So I'll start with Monique. If you had to tell the people who you were, how would you describe yourself?
I am a mother. I feel like I feel that I'm a foundational Black American. I'm not really affiliated with either party. I'm independent. I kind of have a grassroots foundation. But the strongest thing to me is that, I'm a mom. I am a strong Black woman who's very concerned and I guess I'm on target about my community, not just staying within my four walls, but reaching anyone I can on the right or the left to make us successful as a people.
All right, thank you. And we'll go on to Royal.
Okay, I am Royal Hazel. First and foremost, I'm a woman, and I'm a very opinionated woman. That stands for all people, especially ours. When it comes to our community, of course, it's very you get the stigma of being I'm gonna piggyback off Monique for strong Black woman or the opinionated one or the mouthful one. But at the end of the day, I think it's very necessary to have more of the Maxine Waters and the Angelas and Rays, or just those that we really, and I can speak on those just generally that we can name right now, but of course I can speak of Angela Davis, Shirley Chisholm, all those individuals that led the way. And of course, me being a mom myself and a single mother and also a single woman in this community and in this world, it's to the point where we have to continue to speak up because our silence is what they feed off of. And it's on any platform, any topic, or any just situation that's going on. So I am the voice and I will be the face for whatever is right.
All right. And Wendell.
Wow, that's hard to follow up. Well, I'm actually a man, not a woman. There's that. I guess I would say that, I'm a multifaceted person because I think about the question that we get asked a lot in the military. It's like, introduce yourself. And a lot of people start off rank and then name. And it's always, the rank isn't who you are. The military isn't who you are. What you do isn't who you are. Who are you? And identifying that. And I would say, I'm a multifaceted person. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son, a grandson, uncle, a friend to some, I would say probably an enemy to others because I'm not afraid to speak up, to speak out on what's right, to share my opinions, to, I've, I guess make the phrase bully the bullies because I don't like to see people get pushed around, just because you may think it's fun or it's right, it's okay. Like you were saying, Royal, they feed off our silence. And, you got to have someone to stand up and say, hey, I'm not going to be quiet while you do wrong, And as Monique was saying, we got to take charge of our community. And, we have to be active and we have to, reach out to those on the left and the right, whether we agree or disagree, we're all in this together. So I like to think of myself as a multifaceted person. my views and opinions have changed over the years. As Edwards was saying, or excuse me, we're going by first names, as Quay was saying, we've had many, many nights, together, drunk, sober, good times, bad times, we've grown together, and I've seen his growth, and through that we've changed our views and our mindsets, and we've evolved. So I like to think that I'm a person in transition, constantly growing, and hopefully getting better and maturing through that process. So that would be who I am. I guess in an existential way of putting it.
All right. I think we are. I'll keep it short and sweet. I think all y'all very dope and unique in your own ways. I'm not gonna give a bio. People watch or people know me. They know Quay. I think I have a lasting impression on people. Whether it's a good one or a bad one, that's on them to go to sleep with at night. But for all those reasons that y'all named, again, why I wanted y'all to be up here to talk with me about this stuff. And since we have the two moms, the two black mothers, the first topic that I want to talk about from the video that we all watched, or whatever that I asked you guys to watch the clip of, was the views that you have on the pro-life, pro-choice in the black community, and how you think it affects not only the women but the male aspect of it, as fathers, and that being around that decision, or the role they may play in that decision, and even the kids in that decision. So whichever one would like to start, just go ahead and hop into it. You can state whether you are. If you aren't, it's cool. There's no judgment here, just conversation.
Well, I I could share some truth from my standpoint. This is just like breaking news. I was in a place where it was me, in a situation where I had to come and determine if I was going to be pro or not. Before I was in my situation myself, I was against it, against a lot of things, because I was ignorant myself, because I'd never been in the shoes of someone that was actually going, forth with a situation, which it could have been abortion and things like that. My case was an abortion. It was my first one at 27 years old. And when I was placed in that situation, I made a decision for myself, to terminate and go forth with my decision, due to the fact of what I was going through and what I was also trying to do in life and things like that, just weighing my own scale. When it comes to the male aspect of it, because it takes two to tango, I did consider and respectfully considered the situation, because we were grown, we were doing it. So at the end of the day, it was like, hey, this is the situation, and what do we want to do? And we respected each other's choice to terminate, and that's what we agreed upon. I can't knock no one for being pro or con of it. I can't knock no one's aspect, because at the end of the day, I always tell people to do what's best for you. Block out the naysayers, and because what's on your plate. And that's just that. I will say, when I showed up at the facility, it was a lot of protesters there, and it wasn't so uncomfortable, because I'm very comfortable in my decision and things like that. And my spirituality played a role in that. I would say, honestly, 110%, because it was something new, even being an adult, I was 27 and still have some growing to do. It was more of the fact of, I need strength. And I was more concerned of my mental health other than my physical health, because my mental health was like, okay, I don't want to be in this depression. I don't want to be, to the point where I'm just freaking out, crying and all this other stuff, because what I told my support system in my village was, this is how you can support me. Just make sure my mental health is okay. Call and check in and do things like that or whatever. And that's what we did for us on my end. But like I said, when it comes to other people, I can't speak for them, but I just always want people to understand that make the right choice for you. Don't, like, the naysayers don't matter, because only you know what's on your plate and what you can handle and what, your decision is. They have to respect it, and if they don't respect it, oh well, it's still your life.
Okay.
So.
Well, before anybody goes next,
yeah.
As far as like like I said, as we were watching that video, something was said that it stuck out to me about the pro-life or pro-choice thing, and it was how in one community it's a, hey, this is the route you should take.
Mm-hmm.
That is, again, there's no judgment being passed here. Is, hey, if basically if the situation isn't right, have an abortion. You know, that's we'll pay for it, cool. And we know that's something new that has been, has come down. And in the other community is, hey, we're gonna help you have kids. And that stood out to me a lot because I never thought about it until I heard it put in those words. Like, well, we get abortion clinics, they get fertility clinics, and with no formal research of my own, I just sat back and thought about it. Like, you don't. It's not, well, at least for me as a guy, again, speaking from a male point of view, something I have never had to physically go through or anything like that. Is you don't hear about it as much from the other community as you do in our community. So would you guys agree that is, something that is kind of true? When you heard that, did it stick out to you, or how did it play out to you all?
Again, this is a no judgment zone, and it's just everyone speaking their opinion. But I always put that as a disclaimer before I speak or give my opinion on something, because people tune in to the show and may get, snippets from here and there. So first, let me start off by saying that. To answer your question, Clay, I do think that is true, that you do see this predominantly as far as abortion clinics in our community and fertility clinics in, let's say, other communities or white communities. Yes, but there's layers to this, you know what I mean? And just in my research and my understanding of doing things. So when I see that, I look at the beginning of it, the beginning of abortion clinics being in our modern, lifestyle. Now, this has happened centuries before. This is not a new phenomenon. There were just holistic ways of terminating a pregnancy. This wasn't the first time just having these clinics here. But I look at the reason why, and to some people, they may not see it at the level that I see it on. And so it's a different understanding. So I understand that everybody sees things different ways, and their understanding of it may not be mine, and vice versa. But when I look at the history of eugenics and why these facilities are in our neighborhoods and fertility clinics are in theirs, I'll say a history of ours, even going back into slavery, under the most, strenuous, traumatic situations and environments we were placed in, we still had kids, you know what I mean? Like, and we had them in abundance, you know what I mean? So that didn't stop anything, we had our marriages and there was love and everything, but we still had kids. Whereas with other people, their fertility rates are not as high as ours. So yes, there is going to be abortion clinics in our neighborhoods and fertility clinics in theirs, because even statistically, Homeland, stats, they tell us that we can outnumber everybody. There's more brown people on earth than others. So if that's what they want to do, and they want to depopulate our community, of course they're going to be abortion clinics here and fertility clinics, because they don't produce as much, and their mortality rates are even higher than ours. So if the country, the United States, is going to be brown or predominantly brown by the year 2050, hey, this is a way we have to stop this. And so, yeah, we are going to see the clinics in our neighborhood and fertility clinics in theirs. So I struggle with necessarily saying I'm pro-life or pro-choice, because my religion does. My religion allows me to lean more on the pro-choice side. I feel that as adults, when we're being adults, we have to make adult decisions. So if we we know that the possibility of pregnancy is there when we're having sex. So you really only have three choices: either abstain completely, protect yourself. In my opinion, protect yourself. And even that way is not 100%, but it can get you about 99, at least 98%. Or if you are pregnant or become pregnant, that you do you go term and then put the child up for adoption. But then I also look at the different issues that we have with the foster care system, the adoption agencies, and so I feel that people do need to do what is best for them. There's certain circumstances, whether it's health, whether maybe a person is assaulted and then becomes pregnant by that, where I would feel like you can lean more to doing what's best for you in your situation. But if I was to look at it from the religious aspect of how I was raised and what I believe, it would be leaning more to pro-life, and that's how I feel. But I feel like our government plays a very big portion of this, because it's everybody. I say Republicans or conservatives are more pro-life when you're pregnant, but soon as our babies, black babies, are born, they're discarded. They don't care about how well they advance in the system, or in this world. There's so many stipulations and hurdles that are dropped in front of them just for them being black. So it's great to see them say pro-life, but what are we doing after that child is born in these certain circumstances? Because as I mentioned before, foster care and adoption systems in the United States are atrocious, to say the least. And I just think that we as a people, as a community, have to make better choices. We gotta look at the long term and not just the having sex and it feels good right now type thing. We have to have balance and healthy relationships and to set our kids up for success, in my opinion. So.
Oh, and I appreciate that. I think you said you hit a lot of very, very important points. And especially again, if you know me, you know me. Like I won't say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I think the only reason the word conspiracy exists is because somebody doesn't want you to believe something. That's the only reason I think that word exists. But the depopulation thing, I think that is a real thing, on many different levels besides just, childbirth and things like that. And like you said, the foster care system and things like that, they are horrible, especially for our children. It's hard for kids to get adopted. Just let's say it that way. And I think that if it was focused more on making those type of things better, then it could be viewed a different way. But to most people, I would assume that it's viewed as hey, well, the first option is abortion automatically. It's not always hey, you have adoption, you have foster care, things like that. If you don't want your child, you can always go abortion, especially for our people. And that just rubs me the wrong way. Again, I'm gonna say I don't even really like side. That's not really my thing, because you have to do what's right for you. Also, what's right for a child that you may or may not bring to the world. That is a decision that only that parent can make and understand. And if that is that person's sole decision, then that's perfectly fine with their decision. But when it's an influence decision based on other reasons, that's when I have the issue with it. And that's just speaking from the male perspective. But I do want to get T. I do want to get your input on this from another male perspective.
So for me, I guess I'll take kind of a politician's route about it. I'll play the fence. I'm more of a pro Planned Parenthood for me. And what I mean by that is just, as both sisters have outlined, you got to do what's best for you. So who am I to dictate what this woman can do with her body based on her situation and circumstance? Because one solution doesn't fit every scenario, right? There are people who've been victims of assault, persons who, may find themselves in a position where it's either me or this child. birth defects, so many other different, scenarios that we can place into that. And how do you sit here and say this one solution covers all, right? So I say pro-Planned Parenthood. And what I mean by that is giving people the tools in Planned Parenthood, because as Monique outlined, you have abstinence, you have contraceptives, and then finally, whatever your third options may be. If it is terminating the pregnancy, as Royal said, that was her situation, that's what's best for her. Got to respect that. Someone else may say, hey, abstinence, I want to be abstinent. I just don't want to take that chance. Respect that choice. Let them know the information behind that. And if somebody says, hey, I want to know about contraceptives, how to protect myself, what's out there, what can I do? Give them all the tools and resources and knowledge available, so that way people can be educated and make the most informed decision. And then the second part that Monique brought up that kind of stuck out to me and just brought something to my mind. So you have to give me a moment, because you know how I get. God brought Jacob to Egypt, right? Then he gave him a seat of power, right? And then he brought his whole family in after so many years and so forth and so on. And then the Egyptians saw that the Israelites were outnumbering them. Just as she said, the fertility rate was just whoa. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. They are outnumbering us 3-1. We cannot have that. We got to do something about that. So then they put them in a slavery. And then, of course, under that stress and duress, birth rates kind of fell. They're going to subside. But as she was saying, certain things you just can't stop genetically, So what do? Put them into labor, try to make the next generation and so forth and so on. And as we saw in slavery, break up the family, right? Don't let them have so many kids, right? You say, hey, X amount of kids only, we'll break up the family and sell them off. And so that's my 2 cents of the old history lesson. Now, the second part of the history lesson would be when you look at, because she covered a lot of different topics, when you look at our history as a people, right, and especially I think most of us here are Southerners, right?
No, we have a Northerner in the building.
Oh, there's someone from Yankee.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we all can't
Brooklyn, New York, to be exact.
Oh,
yeah.
more Yankee than that. But when you look at a lot of people in our grandparents' generation, grew up thinking my aunt is or my sister is that, but then it turns out that's your mom. And this person was born out of wedlock, and then the older family said, you know what, we're going to take this person, because that was unheard of. Like, that's not happening. Right. This child is a gift from God. That was the phrase our grandparents, that's a gift from God, right? And so whatever happened. And as I was told, when I was faced with that situation, nowhere close to what Roy had to face, but as a man looking at it, we were in that situation. We were young parents, and it was like, what do we do? And we were faced with that situation. It was, the phrase I got from my grandmother was, you can't place the consequences of your sin on that child. Mm-hmm. So you can't put that on that child. And that goes back to, as both the sisters were saying, us putting the stigma on the woman and saying, hey, right, you're doing the wrong thing. And now this child is like, well, look at the person. Like she was saying, her mental health. What about that? Right? What about her physical health? What about the long-term effects to the parent as a whole, you know? And right, who's to say that, you know, hey, yeah, I'm with it, I'm for it, so forth and so on, that he doesn't just run off, or that something doesn't happen and she leaves. You know what I mean? Who's to say? Now, that could happen in a married, perfect, happy home, right? Mm-hmm. But in this kind of scenario, let's take things into, you know, the appropriate levels of consideration. So we grew up in that kind of scenario where people's grandparents were thought to be their parents, but really they're their grandparents. Conversely, on the other side of the fence, as we're looking, Catholicism, right? The Pope for a long time said no contraceptives, no abortion. So when you grow up on a predominantly, you know, Catholic society and you're told no contraceptives, no abortion, right? Now you're putting a stigma on, you know, being afforded that option to make the choices for yourself, for your body, and what's right for you. Now coming forward to today, right? If we've been told it's okay in the urban neighborhoods, as we're called now, right? But they're told don't really do that. It's hush hush over here, but we're told it's okay to talk about it. It's the same rate as the sister talked about. The fertility rates for us are a lot higher. Their mortality rates are extremely high. Their birth rate is extremely low, right? So they're not having those conversations on the open like we are. So it may look like that we're having these, abortions or whatever is put in our community when they're doing the same thing. It's just being pushed on us as to be the face of this thing. And I do believe that it is a form of population control, because when we look, from the post-Eisenhower era, from the, industrialization of America, post-World War II, and building up the big industries and factories, people being brought into the cities, right? Laborers and whatnot, they weren't really skilled workers, so they're not working in the office, but they had, manufacturing jobs and abilities and skills, right? So your granddad could get a job at the factory, he can take care of the home. I think Umar Jackson covered this pretty well, so I'm not going to get too far into it, but now, like she said, our numbers are growing. And now we're getting to be able to take care of a home. We have a decent economy. We're able to be, movers and shakers, and we have a voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Black men are leading the household. Black women are taking care of the home. They have a strong voice. Partnerships, strong Black families. But we can't have this, right? I don't want to jump ahead, but that's when you kind of get into that Section 8 business, right?
Yeah.
I lived that life too. I was told, Section 8 inspection coming, you got to go, right? I remember them days, like, you can't be here. Take the shoes off, get on up out the house. Like, I remember that as a child, and I didn't know what that meant until I was a grown man. I had no idea. So it is a form of, one, controlling the narrative, as she talked about in the earlier parts. Two, it's putting a face to the negative aspect of the narrative. And three, is keeping people ignorant to the facts, because within Planned Parenthood, there's more than just an abortion. You can go to get resources, you can go to learn, you can go to be told about healthy sex, as it were, ways to protect yourself and all these other things. But do we get told that up front? Do our young people learn that in sex ed? No, all you hear is abortion. Terminate the pregnancy. Either terminate or keep it. If you keep it, you're going to work hard, you're not going to get a good job, and you're going to end up going to Everest.edu, and some brother's going to be yelling at you from a commercial. We don't get the same level of access to resources, knowledge, and information. So that's what that's why I believe in pro-Planned Parenthood, so people can, like Royal said, make the best decision for their mental health, for their emotional, for their well-being overall. And like Monique was saying, our population, we have to respect all persons' decisions.
Yeah, and like y'all hit on a lot of very important issues, and it all goes back to I feel like it's still that, like we said, like we all mentioned, that population control, because it's way easier and cheaper to teach people how to do stuff the correct way, or give people their choices of how they can do stuff. But it's never been that way for us. It's never been. Y'all mentioned sex education and sex. I don't even remember taking that class. I think I took it in like 7th, 8th grade, and it wasn't. They were like, "Hey, if you want condoms, go to the counselor's office, and that's it. And here's a picture of STDs." It wasn't really hey, we understand you're teenagers and you're gonna move into adulthood and begin experimenting and experiencing sexual conduct with other people. And this is how some safer ways, or these are some things that may happen. It was, hey, if you don't use condoms, you're going to either get somebody pregnant or you're going to get an STD. So go get you some condoms and you're good. And that was it. Like, as a young 14, 15-year-old man, and it was like, hey, I'm going to go get some condoms. I'm good now. And that was it. Like, as long as I got a condom, I'm good. But as we got older, you realize it's not always, that's not it. Like, that's not the only fix. It's not always condoms. Like, it was never just taught like, hey, there are other ways. If you do get pregnant young, instead of us, shaming you as a society, we're gonna, if you want to be a parent, we're gonna put you in the best situation to be, flourishing parents. It was never that way. It was all you fucked up. You made a mistake. Now look at you. You're never gonna make it. Like you said, you're a failure now, which is bullshit. And even as you guys hit on our birth rates and things like that, again, I go back to my theories and my suspicions of that's the fear of it all. Like you both mentioned, our numbers are gonna grow. Like everything you guys said, all I hear was, just black people, we just that dope. You can't stop us. Like that's all I hear, So, and that's the fear of it. Like we tried to fucking enslave them, and that didn't stop. So what can we do now? So the natural progressions have got us to this point, and who knows what's the next, monkey wrench that they throw at us to try to slow us down, because they have other ways that work. I feel like, it's Wakanda, and they can't figure it out, so they keep trying to figure it out. Go ahead, T.
One thing I will say, too, to that point you were just making, if you also look at our influence over the world, right? Like, I don't know, you remember us in Korea. I mean, you come out to a club in Korea, and they love hip-hop. They love, hip-hop culture, black people. I mean, they can tell you more about your favorite rapper or some aspect of the culture than probably right? Like, oh man, I remember Biz Markie, this, and this. You're like, all right, cool, man, whatever, I know cool word, whatever. So our influence spans so far and so deep that it's like, how do you combat that? What do? Do you limit their numbers? And then when you limit their numbers, the people, not to be a cynic, but the people who do make it then become the cream of the crop and have more influence, become more endowed with these gifts and these talents to, affect people and change and so forth. And you just see it throughout the world. And it's amazing to me to see it, but they try to keep this veil in front of you to try to make it seem like you're less than. Like, if you literally watch TNT during basketball season, it might as well be BET Part 2.
Yeah.
Nothing but hip hop, nothing but black people, nothing but black influence on the whole show, like the post, pre, during, everything, right? But you have a problem with us protesting and speaking up? So you want the entertainment, you don't want the people.
Exactly, because just like you said with the BT, and we're going to go to the next part after this, everything about it is hip-hop, but when you look in the stands, it looks totally different than hip-hop. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. We'll again, not to even shift to that side, but we'll let you get out here and do what you got to do. But this is for us. You do what we say do, because we're the one that, in their minds, we pay you, Yeah. And I think, it's all just what's next. How can we stop them next? And we definitely can't give them a voice. They've been trying to get a voice since the beginning of time. We can't give them a voice. Not LeBron and Chris Paul. We can't give them no voice, especially in that, because that's ours. Like that football, that shit is ours. Baseball is ours too. They just want to say it's somebody else's. It's ours too. So it's all the same. Like you said, if we lower their numbers, it's still going to be. We're the hot commodity. You can't duplicate this shit. You can't duplicate black. You can't duplicate it. We literally created everything that exists today out of nothing but hope. You can't copy that. You can't write that shit down. You can't do anything but look at it and either love it or hate it. And actually, a lot of stuff is put in a way to show that it's hated. But we all. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I'm saying like that, but that's where we have to. And I mean, yes, I'm for all people, and I'm just honestly, I haven't been raised around people, and I'm from New York. I'm first generation. My family is from South Carolina, predominantly, and I was never raised to hate anybody. This was real in our neighborhoods and growing up, was to really judge a person by their character. And it didn't matter if you were black or if you were white, if you were Latino or whatever. And being from New York, I have a broader outlook on it, because I'm surrounded by everything and everybody from every country. I don't think there's a country not represented here in New York City. You know what I'm saying? But but I have a passion for black people because I'm black and this is my experience. I have black children and this is their experience. In this world that where everything is put against them and they have to climb or be 10 times better just to get average. You know what I mean? Or, to be looked at as average or to be given an opportunity when they could be the best at everything, you know. But this is where I feel like we as a people have to understand that this is the balance that we have to go through, right? So yes, we know that. Okay, we went back and talked about, you know, our birth rates and how we through everything we're still growing and growing and growing, right? And we see that and we know this, but how do we operate in this? You know what I'm saying? We can't continue to make the same. You know, I'm glad I heard you cuss a little bit. I'm trying not to, but look, I'm trying not to.
I'm a curse. You gotta curse every once in a while. It gives it the spice.
It's exactly, and it's like sometimes you can't feel it unless you say a cuss word. But I'm gonna try not to. You know, we have to understand that this is the game, and as much as everybody don't like to say, you know, life isn't a game. No, it is. You're gonna have to. There's gonna be winners and there's gonna be losers in this. But if we know that the system is against us, and we know, and it's not, you know, having black pride doesn't mean that I feel that I'm better than you. It's just you all have been telling me my whole life, and my grandparents and my great grandparents' lives, that we aren't anything. But I see what we can do with nothing. You know what I mean? And that's not to encourage us to stay in the mindset of poverty or to stay in that mindset of lack. You know, it's us understanding like, hey, this is what they're gonna throw at us, but are we gonna continue to do the stupid shit to keep us at the bottom? You know, whether it's in their eyes statistically or not. You know, are we gonna continue to live like this, or are we gonna do everything to break these generational curses, to break these generational cycles of lack and being the tail and not the head of things? You know, and I try to. I can't shape or stay away from a religious aspect of it because that makes me who I am. You know, that gives me my output and my mindset on a lot of things, pretty much everything. But I try not to be so spiritually forward that I'm no natural or earthly good to things. You know what I'm saying? So I try to speak to where everyone can understand it. And it's not just that, you know, esoteric level or whatever. But, you know, if we are this great, we should be much further than what we are because we know what the system is doing. But why are we continuing to do the things that put us back there, you know? But genetic annihilation is a real thing. It's a great elder of ours, she passed on, but Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, like she talks about this. She has the papers for the ISIS papers and stuff, and it kind of details this. And it's a real thing. So it's not it's not a conspiracy theory. It's real when you look at the statistics because that's what they always bring to us is numbers. Well, the numbers show that they are on a decline and we are on an incline. And if you look at like the end of slavery, we were half of the population in this country. We were half of the population in like 1865. How we, track this 13% now. And that's because they throw all these little different things in there. Who's mixed with this? Or are you this or you that? Because it's a game, but we're falling for the traps of the game and we're not staying above it. And we have all the tools with nothing, as a culture or as a population, we have all the things that we have right now and we can still win, but we're falling for those traps. But that's a paper or a book that I think everyone should get as well, to understand it. It's broken down. It's because it's a real thing. It's not, a conspiracy theory.
No, and again, I knew I was making the right decision when I asked you guys to do this, and this, early conversation is just proving that I'm pretty good at this already, But it's just proving that everybody, even again with different points of views, we understand at the end of the day what's going on. No matter as a male, female, as someone who may have had to go through it like Royal, a man who's never had to go through it like myself, but we understand it's deeper than what it may seem to some people. And that, to answer your question of why, if we know what we have, why can't we, do what we gotta do to rise above it? And it's simply, some people choose to believe this, some people choose to believe that. And that's the hardest thing for us to do is, and I posted this probably like a week ago, and this is what I honestly feel like. A failure for people to get on one accord is the biggest demise. You know, like if we can't ever agree on any one thing, we can all know is right. But the moment we say, hey, well, we need one person to go do this, we'll never agree on who that one person is to go do this. And we'll always go back down to, all right, well, fuck it, we're going to go this way, we'll see y'all when we see y'all. And that's the hardest part because we have the tools. We survived everything ever thrown at us. Nobody else can say that. You know? Like, not to, you know, like, and that's
I
the.
want to say something too, Quay. Like,
Go ahead.
All of us spoke on the topic. Well, we kind of pinpointed parts like we have the tools and the tools of that. But I think what it is we keep saying like, oh, if we knew how great we were. A lot of people don't know who they are and where they come from. And slavery is not where we come from. I grew up in a household and also within my bloodline of greatness. You know, just knowing my history before I knew the American history. You know, and that was my household, and that's how I bring my household far as within my children up. I teach my children the way I was taught as well. Some of the things I did not, you know, because, you know, we have to break some generational things like Monique said. But it's to the point where we are the bar. You are the bar. Like I spoke before on the naysayers. We already know things are set to be against us. It's not for us, but we are for us. And when you are for you, you don't just go. Don't worry about the obstacles in the way. You do what you're supposed to do because what you're going to do is beyond you're going to break down so many barriers. It's to the point where you're not even going to be bothered by it. And you're going to, when you are that bar, you keep raising yourself. As you elevate, everything around you will align perfectly because it's already there. So when people really get the concept and really sit within themselves and heal it's a lot of healing that needs to take place because it's I mentioned this in one of my seminars. We have to really deprogram ourselves like a computer. We have to reboot. Yeah. We really have to reboot and reprogram ourselves because we're programmed. It's a lot of things the way I was raised that I have to say, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, that was abuse. That was definitely not for, you know, but I get the standpoint from what our parents or grandparents had to do within their situation, but it's a modern day age. It's a lot of resources out here. So you get to utilize that. You get to take it and create your own safe haven or your own, you know, blueprint on top of what was already, you know, before you. I really, for our culture and just in general, I really, it's sad because we can't get on one accord, but how can we when we can't even be on one accord with ourselves? We are, I don't even know the word for it. I would say lost in our own ignorance.
I like that. Before we go, Monique, I know you got some more lights in that big truck down there.
Oh, you can't see? Oh, hold on, let me see. Look,
I got my selfie light. I got a little ring light.
Look, I didn't even bring mine down here. Like I think I got a little one in my truck.
You gotta stay like that.
Okay, I gotta stay up. Okay, all right, I'm gonna stay up like this.
Like, cause it's crazy. You can see where we started was daytime. Now for both of y'all, it's nighttime outside.
Right. Okay.
But,
so that like
yeah,
like more light. All right.
But
to your point, to everybody's point, I think the one thing is we gotta know, learn, be taught the value of the resources and the tools that we have, and the value of our history, and the value of us as a people. Because they see the value of us as a commodity, as something to brand and to market and to really use, right, to exploit. But once we understand that that's our power, our history, our heritage as a people, we can then utilize that to become unified as one entity, one group gathered together. And as Roy was saying, once you do it within yourself first, then we can branch out and start to, collectivify. But until then, because if you look at, a lot of people, since, we're pulling out of Afghanistan and all like that, whatever, and, had trouble in this. Yeah, They're disorganized groups, but those tribes are together. Those African tribes are together. These people that we look down on as uncivilized, whatever, they're collectivified as a unified group, a coalition, because they know who they are. Regardless of what the outside world might be saying, that tribe of people, they are well endowed with the history of who they are and the value of that tool and that resource. So essentially, right, we're all driving a Lamborghini or some supercar, right? But the guys in the Honda are telling you, don't worry about that, man. That's not really that cool. That's
Yep.
because I look at certain things now when we're talking about kids, right? You got the little black kid in class. He got the answer. He knows something. He knows what's going on, or maybe he wants to be a doctor, or she wants to be a doctor, or something like that. But when you're constantly told that's not for you, that's not what you guys do, that's not cool, you talk white, that's what are you doing? You don't have that knowledge of self and that understanding of the power of yourself and that as a tool and a resource, they can push you either kind of way, you know?
Yep.
When I look at that Nipsey Hussle portrait right there, right? He's like, come together, you know, we're all running this marathon together, we're all in this together, let's look at the power we have collectively. Start the self-healing so we can reach out. Because I can't do anything with somebody if I'm not healed and I don't value myself. If I don't value my efforts, if I don't value my life, if I don't value my productivity, whatever I'm able to do, right? What am I gonna really put myself into? What am I really gonna pour myself into? But you got guys like Nipsey who's like, hey man, you are somebody. You are doing things. You are valuable, right? What you've been through is what you've been through, but it made you stronger. Let's start healing and building that generational wealth, not just monetarily, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you know, all those traumas that all of us have gone through, right? Yep. And as Roy was saying, you got to make peace with that, understand that that's just what it was right then, right? But we don't have to keep repeating that, you know? So I think that's really what it comes down to, is being taught that our tools and resources have value, immense value.
And that just brings it all together to just say, you know, just on the pro-life or pro-choice, it's not so much the birth or the becoming pregnant. If we are pro-life as human beings, us as individual adults, you know, and the people that are here right now, we will make better decisions for each other before we even bring life into the world. You know what I mean? Like, that's not, you know, before we get to life and getting pregnant, let's focus on the life that I'm living right now. Let me be the best person that I can be. Let him be the best person that he can be. And then we talk about populating the world, because that's what we're doing. But if I'm messed up as a woman and he's messed up as a man, or unhealed as a woman and he's unhealed as a man, we're already start setting ourselves up for failure. You know what I'm saying? Or setting this child up, this unborn child up for failure. So let's work on being better people, and then bringing life in.
Can I piggyback off that, Monique? You really mentioned that, because now at my age, well, I'll be 30 this August, but just going through the healing process of the things that I've been through in my life story, and I have some more healing to go through as well. I tell the single parents, and just women and men as well, that I'm blessed to give my kids the experience of a healed mother. Growing up, my mom she was healed in her own way, but there's still some things that she's like, okay, you know, maybe, you know, some parents back then, my mom is 65, she'll be 66 in another week and a half. But with that being said, you know, in that era, being born in 1955, it was just like, okay, I just got to be that strong Black woman, or I have to just do this. I'm okay. And my life is, no, I'm not okay. I'm knocking at the door. Help me. Something's wrong. Something's not right. So when I say I take so much pride and honor, and I want to say honor before pride, because it's just honorable to give my two children, a healed mother. That's all I can say. I could drop the ball on that. I mean, for tonight.
I don't have the sound effects yet, but they coming. So
Right.
I would have gave you some bombs then.
Right. Just a healed mother. And because they're gonna grow up and they are our future and they are the next generation. And I can say if this was my last day today, I know that my kids and grandkids will be okay because that's the blueprint that I set for. And my mom encouraged and also supports. I say village. I say, of course we have support system. I say it takes a village because it really does. And it takes a great tribe. I call my kids my tribe. That's my tribe. My village is my mom, my family, my friends, all those. And also the community, the teachers, the educators, everyone that plays a positive, great role in us. So with that being said, it's very important, but just being a single woman and also a single mother, because there is a difference. Being that one for my children and hoping that one day their paternal parent, the father side, will be healed one day. I just know I have to stand firm in my healing to where the kids can also say, you know what, I do know that there's a way out. And there's a great way out. And it don't have to always be combative. It don't always have to be a struggle. Like we said, how can we get past the struggling part, not go backwards? It's just honorable. Because a lot of people they speak on healing, but it's an everyday choice. It's an every second choice. Oh baby, I be wanting to take the healing badge off and put it back on later. But it's an every second choice and it's necessary. So
yeah, again, like everything y'all saying is spot on. Like it's. I think y'all both said it. If we do the work on us, that only benefits the generations to come. Like whether children that are already living or children that may be born in the future. If we do the work on us, then they will understand, they'll see how to do the work on them because they'll still need to do work as well, maybe in different ways. And these generations that are coming down, we have the Gen Zs now, like they about their shit, like they see the stuff that we didn't even see and they making their moves. So it's only going to get progressively better as long as the foundation stays solid. And I think we've done a great service to trying to get that foundation solid.
Perfection. Mama birthed the king, immaculate conception. I survived in the darkness and the shadows of death. And through all that I prospered, they formed every weapon. But I came so thorough, never changed my wardrobe. Took every scar with honor. I was raised in the burrow. Now I'm giving to me from the belly of the beast. I'm just paying respects. I'm just speaking my peace.